July 1st, 2020. Do you know what that means? It's halftime! Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. And as your coach, at halftime, what we always do is we go into the locker room, we go to the chalkboard, and we go over the first half, and we go over our plans for the second half. So follow me into the locker room. And by the way, both genders are welcome. Let's go into the locker room and let's go over what went on in the first half and what we want to do in the second half. All right, we came out with a 2020 game plan. Boy, we wanted to get this economy going. We wanted great things to happen. And then all of a sudden, we got knocked off our feet by this coronavirus. Okay, it wasn't in the plans, but you have to make adjustments. Just the same way as in a game, you have to make adjustments when something new happens. And at halftime, what we want to do is we want to re-energize, because we got a half a year to go, and we want to rehydrate, get our body full of the supplements that we need. All right, so let's break it down and let's make some adjustments. All right, the most obvious one. As a basketball coach, if there's one particular scorer that's killing us out there, that's scoring all the points, we got to stop that scorer. Well, we have a particular scorer that's killing us out there, don't we? And it's this pandemic virus, the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, the virus. All right? So we need to recognize that it's there, and we have to do some things to stop it. And as you play the game, you have to adjust to the referees. You do that in a basketball game. What do I mean by adjust to the referees? Well, sometimes, and we used to call the referees Seymour and Doolittle, all right, just as a coach talk. But one of the things that adjusting to the referees means sometimes you're calling it very tight. So if you just touch somebody, they're calling a foul. On the other hand, some referees let it go a little bit, so you can be a little bit more physical. So you have to make adjustments to the landscape. Same thing is true right here, isn't it? You have to pay attention to the new data. Also, one of the things you have to be aware of is if you start to fall behind, you have to make a full court press, which means you have to get right up there, right on the enemy, eyeball to eyeball. We used to say, leave no space between you and your opponent. Get right in his mug, right in his face. And we certainly find ourselves in that situation in a number of states right now, don't we? Now, New York City found itself in that scenario a couple of months back. They got right in its face. And what did they do? They had the full court press, they took care of it, and now they are a state to be modeled, aren't they? One of the things you have to do, one of the things that's critical in a basketball game and during this pandemic, is you have to block out. You have to block out to prevent offensive rebounds. And we're starting to see some offensive rebounds because we didn't effectively block out. It's a key thing, all right? In New York, you saw them block out. They were the masks, they did the social distancing. In most of the rest of the country, what did you see? You saw people crowding at the beaches. You saw people gathering for this or for that in large numbers. What did you think was going to happen? All right? You have to block out this virus or it's going to continue to fester. And that means diving for some loose balls. All right? When you see something that's out of control, when you see an opportunity, you have to go for it. You can't just let it sit there. You have to dive on the floor. And one of the things you have to remember is that hustle is contagious. So when somebody sees you do something, that inspires them, because we live in somewhat of a copycat world, to do the same thing, especially if they see it's a benevolent thing that you're doing. People follow the leader. And you don't have to be living in the White House or in the State House in order to be a leader. You're the leader in your own household as a parent. So make sure that you set good examples, and the people that are in your sphere of influence will copy what you do. This is not a time to say, do as I say, not as I do. This is a time to do as I do and lead by example. But we've got to constantly keep our eye on the scoreboard. And what the scoreboard is telling us right now is that in half of the states out there, the numbers are running out of control, and that the younger people are the ones that are becoming more and more affected. Then their numbers are rising. So what does that tell us? It tells us, number one, that, and I've seen these interviews and it makes me just want to puke when I see them. It's like, well, I don't care. It's not going to happen to me. You know, it doesn't matter to me. Can we stop that selfishness? We need to get the mindset where people are not being so selfish about things. People say, well, I'm a young guy, I'm a young lady, you know, nothing's going to happen to me. I'll be asymptomatic, or it'll pass, or whatever, which is not, by the way, always the case. But the point is, people have to start thinking of everybody. There's a responsibility that goes with being a member of a particular country. And we have to remember that just because we get it, nothing happens to us, that we can pass it along to somebody else. So the fact that these younger people are getting it, some people saying, oh, it's not a problem, the younger people are getting it, what do you think's going to happen? They're going to get in contact with other people, and those people are going to pass it along to someone that's in the danger groups, the people with diabetes, the people that are older, the people that have, trouble breathing. This is what's going to happen, and you have to look out for the other guy. Now, is it going to be difficult? Are we going to have to close some things down? I'm sorry, but common sense tells me right now it's not absolutely necessary to have the bars and the clubs open. I'm sorry, all right? I'm an old guy. I'm the fool on the hill, all right? My eyes spinning around. I see the sun setting in the background. I don't go to the clubs. But however, I don't see that as being one of the necessities: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and the ability to go to nightclubs and drink. I don't see that. This is a place where the virus is being passed along at a very high rate. Can we insert the common sense factor here? We want to open those things later on, but just like in a ball game, stamina will win in the long run. If you press a team or you fast break a team the whole game, you may not see any results for the first 3 quarters or even part of the 4th quarter. But when you get down to the end of the game, the team with the stamina is the one that's going to win during crunch time. So we have to exhibit and execute stamina to overcome this virus. We have to be stronger than the virus. And right now, the virus has significantly more stamina than we, because we had the numbers where they were going pretty much down, and then what happened? Plateaued. We took our foot off the gas, and what happened? The stamina of the virus overcame our inability to maintain our focus and to do the little things. There's 2 parts to a game, my friends. There's offense and there's defense. And the definition of offense in basketball is reaction to defense. So if the defense is doing one thing, then we do something else. Same thing is true in life. You have to pay attention to what's happening on the offensive, and the coronavirus has been very offensive. We have to pay attention to where it's spreading out, where it's spiking, and we have to make a defensive stand against it, and we have to be strong about that. And we have to do it as a team. Defensively, you're not just guarding your guy. If someone's going to the basket uncontested and you're standing there and you let him go, well, that's not my man, your team isn't going to win. The key point is, as a defensive player, you've got to see the whole floor. As a country, we have to see the whole country, the whole floor, and we have to make our policies congruent with that. Now, as far as reopening, we want to do that as fast as possible, but we want to be under control. Just like in a basketball game, you can have somebody take the ball and they're going full bore right to the basket as fast as they possibly can, and the defensive man stands in front, holds his ground. The offensive guy is going as fast as he possibly can, and he can't stop. The defensive man takes the hit right in the chest and draws the offensive foul. As a coach, we used to yell at our players, "You're OC! You're OC!" What does OC mean? It means you're out of control. What does it mean to be in control? It means to be going as fast as you can possibly go with the ability to stop on a dime, to be in a position to change directions at the drop of a hat. We need to be under control, because if we're not under control, we're not going to be in control. And of course, the other thing is we have to pay attention to the scouting report. And I can tell you that the European Union and other countries are looking at the United States' scouting report, and what the scouting report says is they don't have this thing under control. And when you don't have something under control, we don't want you to come to our country, so stay home until you get yourself under control. That's the key point. So it's just like a basketball game. You got to look at all of the little things, all of the little details. You got to block out. You got to see the whole floor. You have to have stamina. You have to know who to foul at the end of the game. All of the little details that go into a basketball game. It's like life. It's like the situation with the coronavirus. Pay attention to the details. Do the little things. Get the mindset. And if you have people that have a screwed up mindset, then you have to put some laws in place that say, hey, we're not, you know what, we tried to inspire you to do the right thing and you wouldn't be inspired. So now we're requiring you. And Eli, that's the same thing as when you were younger, and probably still the same today, where we say, hey, you're not going anywhere until you clean up that room. Say, oh, but Dad, it's clean. No, it's not clean. So you're staying in the house until you clean up that room. We tried to inspire you. We tried to say, be neat, keep your room clean, but you want to go outside. So in order to do what you want to do, we're requiring that you get that room clean. And with the same thing is true in society. I mean, there are people out there that want to be driving 150, 200 miles an hour, but there are laws that say you can't do that. There are people that want to go through lights. You know, why do we have stoplights? Because we have to have some sort of order, some sort of control. We don't want to overdo it, but we want to have some sort of order and some sort of control. So we have to require certain things. This falls under the heading of requiring those things. So remember, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. We can't keep making the same mistakes and hope to improve our situation. And because we will never end the meeting on a philosophical note, let's get out there and charge in the second half of 2020.